we're going to explore the ItemExpression function. The ItemExpression function is a helper function. It makes it easier to specify arguments in some ActivReporter functions. A typical numerical function in ActivReporter is of this form, where the first argument is current and the second argument is division equal 100. One of the first things to observe is that every argument to every ActivReporter function is a text string, and the arguments are typically enclosed in double quotes. There are some instances where you do not enclose the argument in a double quote pair. If you reference a cell that contains a text string, you do not quote the cell reference. For example, this balance function has a reference to the contents of cell D1. And if you try to quote the cell reference, this will not work because the quoted cell reference will be treated as a literal, and you will get an error. What happens if the name of the argument is natural account with a space in the name? You might try something like this. This gives an error because as soon as the parser hits the space between natural and account, it gives up understanding what is meant because the function parser expects an operator like the equal sign, but instead it finds the word account. For Excel to recognize a text string with an embedded space as a single item or token, you must enclose it in double quotes. You might try this. This will not work either because under normal circumstances, double quotes come in pairs. Thus, the second double quote in the formula will terminate the first double quote, and the result is a zero-length string, followed by the word natural. Excel cannot understand this construction. So, by convention, if you want the second double quote to really be recognized as the beginning of another string rather than the termination of the first string, you quote it. This is also known as escaping the double quote. The correct construction is this. This gets messy and leads to frustration. So ActivReporter introduced the helper function ItemExpression. ItemExpression avoids the requirement of escaping the double quotes in arguments that have spaces. If you use the ItemExpression function, the formula becomes this. Function ItemExpression returns a text string, just like the reference to cell D1 discussed above, so you don't enclose the function in double quotes. But there is more. The ItemExpression function has been enhanced to take more than two arguments. There are two parameters in the numerical financial functions that are labeled as item 1 and item 2. These parameters are meant to supply filters to limit the accounts used in the calculation. When we have only two criteria to limit by, a simple construction could be like this. However, we frequently need to limit by more than two criteria. For example, division equal 100, natural account equal 5150, department equal 00, ledger equal A. The traditional way to do this was to concatenate the argument components together with the ampersand operator, such as this. This formula construction is susceptible to many errors, like leaving out spaces around the AND word or forgetting one of the ampersands. It is also difficult to read and comprehend. Using the ItemExpression function, this can be greatly simplified. Arguments are grouped in pairs and set equal, i.e., the first argument is set equal to the second, third to the fourth, fifth to the sixth, etc. The result of the above is division equal 100, natural account equal 5150, department equal 00, and ledger equal A. Now here are some additional notes regarding these techniques. If you use the Excel function argument wizard, the on-screen presentation is sometimes not long enough to see the argument definition or the calculated resulting value. The Explore icon at the end of the argument will expand so you can see the entire argument. This also begs a question. Why are there two parameters in the numerical financial functions, item 1 and item 2? This is somewhat historical because the original design was to supply a row filter and a column filter. At this time, there is no difference between these two filters. Use either or both. Some users have standardized on using the second filter specifically for the ledger, but this is not required. Since we introduced the ItemExpression function, there is much less reason to use both filters. However, there is one limitation that you need to observe. The ItemExpression function is only a setEqual function. If you want to use the OR operator, the like operator, or the not equal operator, you need to separate that filter from the ItemExpression function. Here is an example. The item 1 parameter uses the ItemExpression function, and the item 2 parameter uses the like operator with the escaped double quote construction. In conclusion, using the ItemExpression function simplifies the arguments in the ActivReporter financial functions, whether or not you have spaces in the arguments. Once you understand the problem the ItemExpression function solves, then you can use it in many situations to simplify your spreadsheet formula arguments.